Hi guys, I'm PUTSY, welcome back to my channel, and for today's video I'm going to talk about all the books that I've read in January 2022. I'm super happy that I started 2022 with a bang. I actually read 9 books this month, which is kind of unheard of for me. I think one of my best reading month in 2021, it was only like around 7 or 8 books, probably 9, but it was more like half physical books and half audiobook. It's kind of cheating, you know, but this month I actually read a lot of physical books. Let's just talk about the first book I finished in January, which is The Cousins by Canon mcmanus. She's also the writer of One of Us is Lying, One of Us is Next, one of my favorite YA mystery thriller series. Because of that series, I decided I want to read all Canon mcmanus's books, and this is yet another good entertaining read from Karen, further solidifying her as one of my favorite YA thriller mystery author. This book is full of twists and turns. I have some minor suspicions here and there, but most of them are not quite right. Firstly, this book is about a very rich family who own a lot of property in this very kind of like a private island. There's a parent and 4 kids. They are such close family, but then one day the dad died. Not long after, their mother decided to kind of disown all of her kids for some reason without any explanation, only left a note saying, "I know what you did," or something like that. I don't really remember the specific line that she said, but after she left the note, she basically cut ties with all of her kids. She disinherited them, and for years all the kids still trying to get in touch with their mom with no results whatsoever, until one day, years and years and years later, 3 of them already have family, have a kid who are now teenagers. Each and every single one of them get a very surprising letter from their grandma, which is the mom, basically ask them to work for the summer in their family hotel, which is just very strange, but they are eager to find out what's actually happened, why all of a sudden their grandma want to have a relationship with them. So the 3 of the cousins go to the island, work for the summer, trying to get in touch with the grandmother. The parents hoping that this is finally the start of them mending the relationship, and just trying to figure out why they got disowned in the first place. So there's already a lot of mystery there, and just like any other Canon mcmanus's books, I love the character that she writes. They felt like their age, you know, not the most complicated, complex characters ever, but they are very easy to understand. I thought all of the characters and the storyline very fitting for, you know, the target market for this book. Also love in every single book there's always a little bit of a complex family relationship, but there's also some very tight friendship group within the story, which I really like. I don't particularly like this more than One of Us is Lying. I think that book is still much better, but this is still such a page turner. Not once did I felt any kind of boredom whatsoever. The romance in it is quite lovely, even though at first I felt a bit uncomfortable and strange about it. You'll know what I mean when you read them, but eventually I was kind of shipping the relationship, the romance in it, but I kind of don't like the ending of it. It felt a little bit bizarre and kind of forced, as if the author kind of ran out of ideas of what to do with the ending at the time, and she kind of jumped into the very first craziest idea she had in her mind. I don't know, like there's just, is that really possible to happen? I mean, there's a lot of people in this island. Are you sure no one would notice? I don't know, it felt a little bit weird, but then again, it is fiction, so besides that very shocking ending, everything else I truly enjoy. So overall, quite a solid start for the year. I gave this book 4.2 stars. The second book I've read, or rather listened to in 2022, is In 5 Years by Rebecca Serle, or I don't know how to pronounce her name. Like I said, I listened to the audiobook. I've seen this cover a lot, especially around Bookstagram, so I was kind of intrigued when I scrolled through my script page. Based on the cover, I thought this will be a little bit of a very light, fun, with some holiday feeling kind of book, but I was very wrong, and I was kind of shocked, but it's also a good kind of shock because I ended up really enjoying it. And the book itself is about a lawyer named Danny Cohen. I'm looking at my reading journal just in case I forget all the name or something like that, so excuse me if I keep looking down. So this is a story about a lawyer named Danny Cohen who live in, I think it's probably around the Upper East Side in New York City. She's all about facts and numbers. She already have some very specific set of goals for what's going to happen in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years. She already have this crazy list, but she's also very ambitious and hardworking enough to be able to achieve them. In 5 years, she wants to work in a very prestigious law firm. She already have her very best friend since she was a kid. She also wants to finally marry her current boyfriend, live in a very luxurious neighborhood in New York City, and she's very well on her way to achieve all of that. And the night of her engagement, she fell asleep and have this very strange dream, as if she's actually experiencing it. She's actually there and kind of jump into the future because in that dream it happens 5 years from now. But what she sees in her dream kind of scared her because everything has changed for her. So she spent her life kind of feel a bit wary of what's going to happen in her future because it's not at all what she envisioned for herself. But life happens. 4.5 years later, she still have everything she wanted. Everything is fine until one day the indication of the dream will finally come into fruition starts to show in her life. And this book is surprisingly very tragic, especially the second half of the book. It's a story about watching someone you love suffer and go through something hard and how it affects you. It hits very close to me because I have experienced something like that in my past, and it just makes me very emotional and I find myself like very close to tears so many times. It is still about love, but more so about friendship, not really about a romantic kind of love. It's also touched on about, how damaging work hustle culture can be, because sometimes people just work and forget to take some rest, have time for themselves, enjoy their life and have fun. And that's basically what the type of person Danny is. It's just work, which is great, but if it's too much, then it can be a little bit damaging as well. And Danny has to learn that the hard way. She will learn how to take a step back, look around her life, truly ask herself, is this truly what you want? Are all the things around you truly makes you happy, or is it just what society tells you this is what will make you happy? If you're successful, if you have this, you will be happy. Or is it truly what you want, And I love that aspect of the story, and I also love the setting. I love every story that is set in New York, and I also love the fake ending as well. It's probably not for everyone, but in this specific book, because of the meaning of the story I think the fake ending fits very well. The ending is very up for interpretation. That's basically the big lesson that the main character has to learn in this book, to let her guard down and truly enjoy the moment, not thinking too much so far ahead in the future. It's such a bittersweet ending in my opinion, and I'm totally okay with that. It can be better, but overall I really appreciate the story and I really like it. So 4.2 stars. Next, another audiobook, which is In a Holidaze by Christina. I was still in that kind of holiday vibe, I guess. I personally really like Christina's books. I've read The Soulmate Equation, The Unhoneymooners, Love and Other Words, and now In a Holidaze. And I think if I have to rank all of them, Love and Other Words obviously take the cake for me because it's 5-star. It's one of my favorite book from 2021, and I think in second position it's very close between In a Holidaze and The Unhoneymooners, and my least favorite at the moment is The Soulmate Equation. And this book is filled with so many amazing, wholesome, cozy, holiday, wintry vibe. It's kind of a trope of friends to lover with a little bit of it's always been you kind of trope. What I didn't know is that this book is also kind of dealt with time travel, time loop kind of thing, which is unexpected. In my opinion, it's such a fun, sweet, cozy, cute romantic story, very wholesome as well. I just love the feeling that this book gave me. The time loop itself is quite funny in my opinion, but I also kind of wish they utilized that time loop aspect a little bit more, because it only happened maybe the first third of the book or the first half of the book, but there's a lot of things to love in this book, specifically the friendship, the found family aspect. Seriously, where can I find this kind of friend group? Because I don't have that. I also love the journey of our main character, trying to figure out what she wants and what she truly needs in her life in order to be happy, which is to be herself. And last but not least, I love the romance, of course. I think it's perfectly paced, super lovely, but also just like the Unhoneymooners and the Soulmate Equation, I feel like the drama, like the main problem that the couple have towards the end of the book, kind of felt a little bit like too easy. It's kind of resolved way too fast. Like I kind of want a little bit more angst and frustration, but it's still very much enjoyable, super entertaining, especially for the time I was reading it. So yeah, I give this book 4.4 stars. So next, another mystery thriller book. It's The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell, and I listened to the audiobook. I didn't know that it's actually going to be a series when I read it. The story itself is kind of resolved, so it's perfectly okay if you only read this book without reading the next one. This is one of the most disturbing book I've ever read. Just the craziest thing after craziest thing. When I thought we're done with the crazy thing, something else happened and it's even crazier than the first one. It's just crazy, but I had such a blast listening to this. I enjoy Lisa Jewell's writing. I've read one of her books before. I think it's called The Night She Disappeared. Lisa Jewell's really like to write her books with multiple timeline and multiple perspective. It's my own mistake, listening to the audiobook instead of reading the physical one, because it can get a little bit confusing, especially for the first few chapters, but after I get into it, it's totally fine. But I think in this one is a little bit more manageable and understandable, because for every single timeline and point of view we have different voice, but in the other books I think we only have one voice. So the book is about a very rich family who live in this very big house, socialite kind of people, until one day some stranger visited their house to stay in their house for a while, but then they never really left. Instead, there are more people coming into the house and live with them. It's just very strange, and soon stranger things happen, because not only that they live in that house, they also kind of took over the household and act as if they are the owner, and they just live a very weird lifestyle. It's almost like a cult, until one day the parents from the family who own the house found dead, and it's ruled as suicidal overdose as an act within this cult. When people find them, there's nothing left in the house, like there's no furniture whatsoever, but they also left a note saying that please take care of the baby, because they left a baby when they died. So 25 years later, we also have the perspective of this baby. Once she grew up, she found out that she just got an inheritance, this very big house, which is the house where all of those weird things took place, and we're going to find out what actually happened, who she truly is, and everything. It's just a lot of crazy thing happening in the house. So I would suggest you to check the trigger warning first, because it's quite a lot. Like, it's quite an intense book. Overall, I really like the book, not because of the story itself and all the disturbing things that happen in the book, but because of how dark and twisted and unexpected the story is. Like, I truly could not expect a thing, but as crazy as it is, the story itself surprisingly felt very believable in my opinion. And just like her other books, she's notorious with giving us a lot of extensive details, but at times it feels a little bit unnecessary and tedious. I think she can cut down some of the details and make it like 2 or 3 chapters shorter. Unlike The Night She Disappeared, I feel like the details in that book is just a little bit too much, especially in the start of the book, but in this book it actually adds something to the story. I don't really mind the details here, and I give this book 4.2 stars. And the next book I've read in January is The Deal from Off Campus series. I love this book so much that I've actually decided to read the whole entire series in January. Not only the first 4 books from the Off Campus series, I also managed to finish the first book from the Briar U series, which is kind of a companion series. It's still happening around the same university, the same hockey team. So yes, this book is a sport romance. The main characters in Off-Campus series is part of the same hockey team in Briar University. They actually are best friends who live in the same house off campus, which is why it's called Off-Campus series. There are Garrett Graham, Logan, Dean De Laurentiis, and Tucker. So each book we will follow along different guys. So the first book, how can a book make me feel so many emotions? This book is about Hannah Wells, who are a music major in Briar University, who actually hates jocks. She has all this preconceived notion about what they're like, but she is also a little bit hypercritical because she also have a huge crush on this new student who are also a football player. But other than that guy, she basically just hates jocks. She is very smart, talented, and she's one of the only people who got an A in this one particular difficult class. Almost everyone failed the midterm test, including one very famous, very good looking, also captain of the hockey team, Garrett. One day he accidentally see Hannah score, so she asked her to tutor him. He truly need to ace the test to be able to play hockey. She doesn't want to do that because one, she doesn't have the time, but second of all, she hates jocks, even though she doesn't really know him personally at all. But Garrett being Garrett, who are a hardworking person and never truly accept no as an answer. One day he see the way Hannah looking at this football player, I think he called Justin, so he try to make her a proposition, a deal. She need to tutor him. In exchange, he will pretend to be her boyfriend to make the football player jealous. They spend a lot of time together tutoring. They actually become closer and closer as friends, and I love that they became friends first before they get into a romantic relationship. So the trope is, at least from Hannah's end, it's hate to friendship to love. I truly love their friendship as much as their romantic relationship. I love how they help each other heal from their traumatic past. I can truly feel their chemistry oozing out of the words that I was reading. I love their banter, kind of witty, and this book is very steamy. That's the one thing you have to know about the whole entire series. It's very smutty, and I love this book so much that I decided to read the whole series, and I think I read the whole entire series in like a week, and that's really like a lot for me because I'm such a slow reader. So go figure, that's how much I love the book. And the second book from the series is The Mistake, about Logan, who are kind of a player, and he's a very easygoing, charming guy who loves to parties, have a lot of hookups, until one day he made a mistake. But with that mistake, it leads him to Grace, who are a college freshman, very awkward, especially around guys, and loves to babble around, talking like a lot. And I personally think they are such a sweet couple. I don't know if I like Garrett and Hannah more or this couple more, but I personally love reading this story. Logan is not what we think he is at all. I feel like one of the main thing about all the characters from this book is they appear as one thing, but then once you get to know them, like there are actually a lot more to the characters than meet the eyes, and that's what I love. And in this book, Logan actually have a very difficult life at home, dealing with his father who have drinking problems. So as much as I love the romantic and smutty, steamy aspect of the book, I also love the fact that we deal with a lot of different complex problems that felt very realistic, and the way they deal with it is very enjoyable to read. I don't know if that's the right word to describe it. I cannot really say much about what's going on in the book because at the moment it kind of jumbled up into one big story, and I don't really remember a lot of the details about this particular book, but I just remember that I love the story so much. There are a lot of aspects in this book that I like a bit more than the first book. Overall, I gave The Deal and The Mistake both 5 stars. The third book from the series is yet another 5 stars for me. It's The Score, the story of Dean Hayward De Laurentiis, who came from a very filthy rich family. A bit vain, can be a bit arrogant, so sure of himself. He knows that he's good looking and he loves party and have fun. Never really been in a serious relationship. It's all about hookups, fling, one night stands only for Dean De Laurentiis. As we go on with the books, we kind of peel layers and layers of his character. He is very smart, and a lot of people don't know that. People kind of expect that he get to where he is today because of his family. Like, he truly worked hard for what he wants. But then one day, Hannah's best friend Elle just had a very nasty breakup. She tried to stay away from her ex so she won't be tempted to get back with him. She decided to stay for a couple of days in their house, but once she get there, there's only Dean in the house. Dean being Dean, and Elle just having a breakup in need of a rebound. One thing led to another. As it turns out, it was actually one of the best they have ever experienced in their life. Instead of being a one-time thing, they both kind of can't get enough of each other, so they kept going back to one another while also trying to keep this relationship on the down low, because it's kind of weird for Dean to be in a relationship and Elle being Elle. Dean is really not her type. So it was a very weird dynamic, but in a very good way, because turns out both of them are exactly what each other needs. It's just very funny. I love Dean's character so much. There's a lot of funny witty banter, but also something really tragic happened towards the end of the book. It's kind of dealing with a very tragic loss and how the character have to deal with it. I love the progression of Dean's character throughout this book. He went from one thing to become another, and I just love seeing his growth. And the fourth book from the series called The Goal. It's about John Tucker and Sabrina. If you've read the first 3 books, you probably know who she is. She's kind of like Dean's nemesis, but sadly this is probably one of my least favorite out of the 4, just because I don't like Sabrina's character as much as the other ones. I don't like how she treated Tucker and the relationship. It's very frustrating and annoying, especially towards the end. Tucker is probably one of the most gentleman, kind, honest, patient guy, and Sabrina is a very hardworking person, can be a little bit cold at times, ambitious, strive to get into Harvard Law School, but she always say no to a relationship because she knows that she doesn't have time for that. Then one night she captured Tucker's eyes. In Tucker's point of view, it's kind of an insta love. He felt something was there, love from the first sight kind of thing. They actually end up having a one night stand that night, but even Sabrina can't lie that it was an amazing experience and she cannot get enough. With his passion and eagerness, he keep pursuing Sabrina even when she tell him no, because he knows deep down Sabrina feel this too. But then one day, after a few months of having casual relationship, Sabrina found out that she got pregnant with Tucker's baby. So the story and their relationship got even more complicated from there. But even after all of that, they still haven't figured out what they are to each other, which is where my frustration stems from. The pace of this story is just overall much slower compared to the others. Sabrina can be a little bit annoying, especially the way she treated Tucker, and she can be a little bit selfish a lot of the times, in my opinion. But it's not only Sabrina's fault, don't get me wrong, it's both of their fault, because Tucker is being way too accommodating and Sabrina need to stop thinking what's best for Tucker and let Tucker decide for his own. And one thing that I really like about this book is, in terms of timeline, it intertwined with the third book. Their relationship kind of start around similar time of Dean and Ellie's relationship, and a lot of the things that happen in this book already happened in the third book. We kind of get to see the same events from two different point of view, and that's very entertaining, refreshing. Even though it's the same, it's also kind of different because Dean and Tucker have a completely upside different character, but that also means the tragic thing that happened in the third book, I have to experience that all over again in this one, and it's not a fun experience at all. Like, why do I have to experience that again? It's just cruel from elle's end, you know? Even then, I still really like the book. I gave this book 4.5 stars. It's just not as amazing as the other three in my opinion. And the last book of January is another book from this Briar University universe, but this one is from the Briar U series, which is a continuation from the off-campus series. Still happen in Briar U with the hockey team, and also kind of still happen within the same house, that house, but all the four main characters from the off-campus series already graduated now. Now another characters living in the house. So now we follow along a different set of characters, and in the first book, which is The Chase, we follow along Summer De Laurentiis. And you heard it right, she's Dean De Laurentiis' sister, and I love her characters a lot. She's just a very fun, bubbly, a little bit crazy at times, like even crazier than Dean. She just got kicked out of Brown University because she accidentally set her sorority house on fire, which is why now she will spend the rest of her college years in Briar University. And if you have read the third book, she already set eyes on Fitz, which is one of Dean's friends. In that book, she already say, "I want you," or something like that. Fitz is very much unlike any other jocks. He's very quiet. He's a very avid gamer. He doesn't really like go out partying. Very quiet, private person. In contrast with Summer's character, who are very loud, makes for a very interesting dynamic in a relationship in my opinion, but surprisingly they work very well in my opinion. Kind of a slow burn because there's some miscommunication, misunderstanding happened very early on the book, mixed with the fact that Fitz is a very closed off person, very private, and he has trouble with conveying his emotion and voicing his opinion out loud. Even when it's obvious that they like each other, they have a connection, the spark is there, the relationship doesn't happen that easily. This book is full of angst, a little bit frustrating at times because you just really want them to finally be together, but things just keep happening and happening that made them not seeing each other, and it's a different sort of frustration compared to the goal. One thing that I don't really like about it is there are another love interest in this book, and I don't like the way they treated him because in the end he got hurt when it is very much preventable if only they are being honest with each other, with themselves, and with this other character. And I don't like the fact that he got hurt, but other than that, I truly love the story. It's so much fun. Overall, I truly love this book. I give this book 4.85 stars ish. I cannot wait to finish off the whole entire Briar U series in February, especially because February, Valentine's month, I just want to indulge myself in more romance books. I also planning on reading Colin Hoover's books for the first time. Super excited about that because it's Colin Hoover. I want to understand the hype. I also have a couple other books in mind, but we'll see. Yeah, if you want to see my review for all the books that I just mentioned for my February wrap-up video and see if I succeeded on reading them or not, make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell so you'll get notified when I finally post that video next month. Also, let me know in the comment section down below what books you've read in January and what books are you most excited to read in February. And lastly, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this video and I hope I can see you in another video. Bye guys.